What's going on, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. We are back on another Tuesday uh, with a very delightful show for you in store. And with me, as ever, co-piloting this thing is the homeboy Rob.
What's going on?
Yes. And some of you might be noticing my fancy shirt and my clocked hair, just as Robert had. And
You dress up so nice for me, Andy. I'm kind of flattered.
yeah. Well, it's just one of the perks of actually getting out of the house. And having to actually try to look like a human being. I suggest some of you try it out. No. Those of you
Outdoors.
what was it?
Outdoors? What's that?
Gime? What's a gime?
Oh, a gime.
Yeah. And there's your Simpson reference for the show. Or I should say the first, because there'll probably be more.
There'll probably be more.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the reason why I'm dressed sort of nice is for those of you who've been following along in my journey, is I got myself a job. Um, and I actually have to I have to look like a presentable human being. So I did get off of work early enough where um, I could shower and kind of get the day off of me. But my hair was looking so nice. I decided to wait until the stream, and then afterwards I'll take a shower.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, I mean, because it's not every day that I look this nice for the stream.
Well, it's good to see you looking nice.
It's good to be seen. Oh, right. But yeah, so Robert, how was your weekend?
Weekend was good. I worked all weekend. Today was like my first day off in over a week. So yeah, it was kind of nice to finally get the day off. I slept most of the day because I was exhausted.
Dang.
Yeah, I woke up I didn't have to wake up for work, but I woke up super early. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I don't have to wake up for work. So I went back to sleep, and I woke up again later, and I was like, I'm still feeling kind of tired, so just kept on resting. And now I feel refreshed for the stream. So there was that. Um, Other than work, I was watching a lot of the NASCAR races this weekend. They were racing over at in Las Vegas, um, and the racing was fantastic all weekend. All three top three series that were racing, all the races were really good, very exciting. None of my drivers won, unfortunately, but that's okay. That happens. They were in contention, so that's all I can ask for. Um, but yeah, no, been doing that. I've been watching a lot of old races actually as well, just because NASCAR excites me. And later on, I'll share a few of my races I think that non-race fans like yourself that I think you should watch, and I think might get you excited about stock car racing.
Don't hold your breath.
Huh?
I said, don't hold your breath.
Okay, well, maybe not you,
But
but
okay, but
I'm gonna
okay,
share them anyways.
you know, I'll give it a shot for you. All right, for you.
All right.
Yeah, I make no promises, but
But yeah, that,
because we're friends, I'll do it for you.
okay. All right. Oh, and I
But
also picked
one
up a
question though. One
copy.
question though. One question though.
Okay.
Will you be providing, or would I have to bring my own gun?
your your own. I think you might have to provide your own gun. Sorry, Andy.
Yeah. Yeah, for those of you not quick enough to
And
get
I
that
also,
joke, I'm talking about killing myself for what, because being so bored.
I don't think you'll be bored here, Andy. Especially if you have me there. Kind of sharing. When questions arise, like so you're not like, oh, what's going on here? But the other thing I also did this weekend is I picked up a copy of They Shall Not Grow Old.
Oh, nice.
Just because I really love this documentary. I really think everyone should watch it. Um, any any uh, uh, fans of history, this is I think one of the best history documentaries I've ever seen.
Mm,
Very entertaining, and it's all done in the people that were there talking about their story.
right.
And
Yeah, I mean, for those of you who are, just discovering our stream, me and Robert, and friend of the podcast, Dan, we went to go. Watch this thing. I think at the time that we went to go watch it, you have already viewed it, or
I think I've watched it 3 times already. That's
okay, yeah,
because I watched it once by
yeah. Way to make it
myself. I
special,
saw it.
Robert.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. So it's just it's
but a while back we did do a review, and yeah, it was really great. I mean, you could tell that Peter Jackson, who directed this thing, this was like an absolute passion project for him, and just the lengths that he went to knock it out of the park. He got forensic lip readers to read the mouth movements of the men in the footage, and then he like tracked down like what part of England they were from, just so like and then he got people from that region of England to do the voiceovers, just so the accents were right, historically accurate, as it were. Even
regionally accurate. That's the crazy thing.
yeah, historically regionally accurate, and also he had his own World War I era canon to do
As
sound
one
recordings
tends to
of,
have.
to make sure that the canon sound that they used for like the one that was in the archival footage matched. So
Yeah, as
so
one tends to
to
have.
say that to say that this was a passion project was, I think, is a little bit of is a little bit underselling and diminishing what Peter Jackson actually did.
Oh yeah, it's really fantastic, and I would love to see him talk about from other aspects of World War One. I don't know if we'll ever
Right,
get
because
that, but
he mainly covered the kind of ground war, but yeah, I would love to see a documentary that he did, like about like the naval battles, or like the introduction of aerial combat in World War One. I think that'd be really something special.
if you are looking for something like that, if you're a crazy person like myself who gets excited about history, there actually is a really great YouTube channel called The Great War, and they're a subsidiary of another channel called It's History, and they've been since 2014 they've been covering events throughout the war. like week by week, as how the war progressed, because they went through all of World War One, and now they're covering some of the after effects, um, of what happened after the war. So they're going to be working on it for another 3 years. Week by week, they're going to be putting out content. They have like, and it's like little 10-minute episodes, so it goes through all the events of the war. It talks about certain people of the war that were important in the war that end up becoming important during World War II. Some of the famous battles, some of the famous things that were going on the home front, and it's really a really fascinating channel that I think everyone should watch it.
Yeah, there you have it. Yeah. If Rob recommends it, it must be pretty fantastic. So yeah, do check it out. It was called the Great War. The channel is called.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, my weekend was pretty laid back. Although I think on Saturday with like the rains, I don't know why, but it just like sapped all the energy out of me, and I just like knocked out like fairly early too. Um,
Yeah.
but uh, the Sunday, start of the week, um, me and my family we had a special dinner of sorts to celebrate me getting a job, and it was really nice. My parents like cooked up some ribs. Um, I mean, don't get too excited because we don't have room for like a grill or smokers or whatever, so we had to do it kind of like uh, you know not that the not that they weren't delicious, but just kind of not in the way that we would find delicious.
I mean, did it turn out okay? Did it taste good?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was good. Just not in the way that the way me and you would probably like, because they boil them and they basically put them in the oven, slather it in sauce, and it was delicious. But once you go smoked ribs, you just can't go back.
Yeah, but I've had it that way too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's serviceable. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'm not trying to knock what my parents did for me, because it was delicious, and they made like their own sauce. Um, they started with the barbecue sauce base, and then they added such and such things to make it their own. Um, so it was really nice. Um, yeah, and again, it was serviceable, and and in its own way, it was delicious. But yeah, it's just because I've had smoked pork ribs, and my friend recently he made some smoked ribs as well, and so when once you have the, you kind of get spoiled.
Yeah, no, I understand. Actually, have you been uh, recently? There was they opened up a new complex over in Porter Ranch, right?
Yeah, yeah, the
Have you
vineyard.
been to the new barbecue place that's over there? Have you been to
I
the
I
the
hear
barbecue place
things.
that's
I've
there?
been hearing good things about this place. Yeah, it's called
It's
Gus's, or
Yeah, Gus's. Oh man, it's good. I went
yeah.
there on Friday,
Uh huh.
and yeah, I had to say it's pretty good.
Okay. You recommend?
Uh, yeah, I went with my parents. We kind of all did something different and shared it all.
Right,
I
right,
got the
right, right.
fried chicken. I got the fried chicken, pulled pork and beef brisket.
Mm-hmm.
Fried chicken was awesome. really good. Um, my mom got the baby back ribs, which were really good. Uh, um, the cornbread is fantastic. Uh,
I do love me a
what else
good
did we get
cornbread.
as a cornbread? My dad got the Nashville hot chicken, which was also really good, or actually very spicy. Actually, it was nice.
Mm.
And what else did we get? Oh yeah, and for dessert we got the blueberry cobbler. Oh man, that was good.
Ooh. I do love me a good cobbler. All right, and don't confuse it for a
This one was
pie.
pretty
All right,
good.
it's a cobbler. It's a cobbler.
Yeah, it's not. It's not a pie. Not even close.
All right, because I think because a cobbler doesn't have a bottom crust.
No, yeah, it's this had no bottom crust.
Yeah. All right, so it's not a pie. A cobbler is
It's
not a pie.
it's kind of, if you think it, a cobbler is closer to a muffin than a pie.
Right. Yeah. But it ain't no pie.
I agree. Uh,
All right. Yeah. So let's get into some of the stories that we got. How do you want to do this? You want you want to do like the all sorts first, or do you kind of want to maybe like stagger a little bit?
let's um let's get some of the nasty stuff out of the way.
Okay. All right. I'm presuming the Spielberg news.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, for those of you who are unaware, um, Steven Spielberg's daughter, his adoptive daughter, recently came out and said that she was going to be um, not a like a porn star in kind of like the usual sense, but just I think how she put it was an adult entertainer. Yeah,
Cam girl or something along
yeah,
those
or
lines.
she just might kind of like do like masturbatory like videos and things like that. Nothing where there involves a partner, but who knows? If someone presents big enough check, uh, for her to do some actual like hardcore kind of stuff, then who knows? But this her announcement comes like there's all this kind of progressive progressive speak around it, talking about like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm taking
Yeah.
control of my body, and it's a way for me to like pleasure people, but not necessarily have that interaction or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's, and usually people who do this sort of thing clearly have not had the the best of childhoods,
Right. I
to say the
mean,
least.
we're eventually going to get into it. But I mean, even she admits to this, saying that she was groomed, and she was groomed by monsters. Um,
Well,
and
the way I,
not necessarily like people close to her or her family, but just kind of like kind of within like the orbit. Um, I don't think she goes into specifics. Um,
right, she doesn't go into specifics, doesn't name any names, but the because the first article I saw about this was sometime last week, and it was her, kind of doing the "you go girl, take control of
right, right.
your
The
body"
woman
thing.
empowerment narrative, where it's like, oh, I'm taking control of my body, and you know, um,
Um,
this is. I was
and
like, I
like
just
she was
want to
talking
feel
about how,
empowered in my body, and I'm taking control of my body, and just like
and
it's like whatever. It's
it's
like
like
whatever
how
helps you
her
sleep at
parents
night,
are both,
sweetheart. whatever helps you sleep at night.
How her parents were both intrigued and supportive and all. It's like,
Right. Well, initially,
this
yes.
is
Initially, yes. She said that that her parents were supportive and like intrigued by her decision to do this. It's like, and the Parents of the Year award go to, it's like,
not the Spielbergs,
like
that's
not the
for sure.
Spielbergs.
Oh my gosh, it's just
Yeah, no more horrifying thing. Can I imagine coming out of a child's mouth than saying like, yeah, I'm gonna be a porn star.
well, and then here's the thing though, is especially this kind of comes with everything that's been coming out with stuff that's going on in Hollywood and how um, people have been sexually abused and treated, especially kids, boys and girls alike. And she said, yeah, I was. Um, there was a lot of sexual abuse that happened with her, which is like, yeah, because she's the adopted daughter of Steven Spielberg. So it's like, okay, which is a good thing. Great. I'm happy that they did that. But you adopt this kid, and one of the main jobs is to provide a new safe environment for this adoptive child to be in your house. Yet you either willingly or unknowingly um, allow this to go on, and you didn't think or know about it. And there's a lot of other things concerning Spielberg where there's a little bit of thought that he's kind of involved with some of the you know pedophilia in Hollywood and all this, and that I don't know if that's true or not, but he certainly probably knows quite a few of these people that are.
Right? Yeah, we'll just do the lawyer thing and say allegedly, even though
Yeah.
deep down in our hearts we know the truth.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
um
but yeah, you know, it's almost insane to think that um, that, that they didn't know. It's almost unthinkable to it. It just doesn't. It's like, how could they not have known?
yeah,
It's like,
I agree.
it's and so it kind of makes me, it kind of stirs something in me, and it's like they probably, allegedly, I'm not saying it's true, but they probably knew. They probably knew.
Yeah.
And for whatever, I
uh
mean, and not to make excuses, but it's kind of like the indoctrination thing. It's like kind of like those secret society rituals where you go into a coffin and you jerk off in front of, like, 20 people, and so now, like, everyone knows that you jerked off in a coffin, like, and now, like, and you can't say anything, you can't go say anything bad against anybody else. It's like, um or it's like, it's a gang initiation where they make you go kill somebody, and so, and then they hold on to the gun, so, like, if you ever you know turn on them, they can still have the gun, and they could just give it to the cops, like, yeah, this is the gun, this is the guy who did it, so on and so forth.
yeah, it's it's really disgusting.
Yeah.
And even if they didn't know, or,
Mhm.
or like they were like, it's still like, I don't know, it's like you failed as a parent at that point.
Yeah, I mean,
And
you think, and like you would think, like, oh, she's a Spielberg, how could they have done, how can these monsters have done it to, a Spielberg, someone, as well connected as Steven Spielberg? It's like it doesn't matter to these people. I mean,
Well,
what
and
is
then the
it?
other thing,
Even Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow, one of the most successful, movie stars out there. Even she, I think, had an accusation against Harvey Weinstein, and funny connection to the Spielberg. That's Gwyneth Paltrow is Steven Spielberg's goddaughter.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
She's become a fucking weirdo. Let's just say that.
Right, exactly. And I mean beyond like her family connection, it's like, she whether she did willingly or unwillingly, the deed with Harvey Weinstein,
Yeah.
it's
But the fact that, okay, let's say they didn't know that this was going on, right? Okay,
mm,
let's say that part's true.
okay.
When you hear the
Give
speech
them
from
that. Okay, we'll
your
give them the
daughter,
benefit of the doubt and say that they didn't know.
when you hear the stuff, from your daughter saying these things, it's like the fact that you don't go and try to find out who did it and beat the shit out of them, or at least have them arrested. It's like,
Right. I
well,
mean, if you're
what do
not,
you do?
if you're not,
Because his
yeah, if you're
daughter's
not
not that old.
going,
She's
if you're
only
not going Denzel
23.
in Man on Fire, just burning the entire city down. I don't. Something's wrong with you.
Seriously.
All right. I think,
Um,
because I watched a video, Stephen Molyneux's kind of reaction to the story, and like, yeah, he had a similar, he had more passionate, visceral reaction because he himself is a father to a young daughter. Um, but yeah, he was, you could tell, in his face that he was just sickened by the notion that um, this child that they picked this child, you know, to bring into their family, and they didn't protect this child.
yeah, pretty awful stuff. And any normal person would be upset by this. But hey, it's Hollywood. It's just what happens, and we're intrigued and supportive
Right,
of our daughter doing this, all these horrific acts to herself for people on camera for people to get some sick pleasure out of.
right. Yeah, like, how does a normal person read that sentence? Like, oh, my parents were supportive and intrigued by my decisions. Like, that's bullshit. That's media spin bullshit. Because
Yeah,
any normal any person outside of like the Hollywood machine, or away from like the coastal cities, heartland America, reads that and it's like those parents done fucked up. That's their reaction. Like, those parents done
yes, sir.
fucked up. Like supportive and intrigued.
Yep.
What the?
But
It's like, yeah. It's
remember,
like, yeah. I mean, like the adult entertainer aspect is horrible enough, but then when she reveals that it was like people within like her family's orbit that was the ones molesting her and violating her, that's like, yeah, again, if you are not going Denzel in Man on Fire again, around town, then you are not a parent. Or you are not a father, at the very least. You are not a father. If you are not going
yeah,
and sticking, explosives in the rear ends of the monsters that did this to your daughter, you're not a father.
yeah, seriously. But remember, Andy, these are our social betters. They know so much better than us. They're we're just dumb hicks compared to these
Mm-hmm.
guys because they know so much better than us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not. I mean, I'm not a father yet, but I have several nieces, and yeah, if anyone lays a finger on them, that that's it for them. That is it for them, right? And I'll never get caught. I'll never get caught.
Oh God, it's sickening to think of.
Yeah.
It's I remember, it's probably, this is a while ago now, but kind of hearing a lot of, you'd hear like rumors and stuff of kind of these type of people, like these pedophiles, and it's like there can't be that many, right? It's like it seems like it's some sort of potential like witch hunt or whatever. It's like, oh,
Right.
you
You
shout,
think
oh,
it's like
he
you
was
think it's like a really small like sliver of the population. Um, but I mean,
no, it's not. It's so
like
it's so much, it's
just
so
I
much
mean, yeah,
worse.
just like what is that? I think like in I think it was around when Trump was first elected, like in 16 or 17. There was that bust of human traffickers. 400 arrests in LA, LA, where we
No,
live.
I know.
400 arrests. That's a
And
that's
that's
a
like,
that's at least like 20 city blocks right there.
yeah,
That's 20
and
city
that's
blocks of people.
it's a really horrific situation that we don't even know how bad it is. I think a lot of us would be sickened by what's going on.
Right? I mean, yeah, and like people don't even like again when there were again back in like 2016 2017 there was that ice raid um, and they arrested these human traffickers and those freaking like and the freaking idiots with the oh no person's illegal bullshit were out protesting them and then they found out it's like oh no these guys were human traffickers and they're like but I think there was that one interview where the girl was still actually trying to defend them.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. I was like,
It was
are
like,
you
yeah, it's like, oh
insane?
these are our neighbors. They're like, there's no humans illegal with like their sign and everything. But the reporter was like, it's like, did you know that they were human traffickers? It's like what? And it's like, well, it's and like it definitely there's definitely when like even like that useful idiot was trying to do like spin for these monsters.
Well, that's what's like, even with something that kind of pisses me off, like because we don't realize that a lot of the one of the positive benefits of what's been going on down at the border with us trying to get some sort of control down there is it's put a dent in the human trafficking that's been going on. And something that kind of pisses me off with some churchgoers now is because they're kind of doing the same thing. It's like, oh, this is so messed up. How could they do that to people just trying to make a better life for themselves? And I'm not saying that there aren't people that are trying to do that, which I
Mm-hmm.
also I'm not really a huge fan of. But it's like, yeah, how there's a lot of human trafficking, right? And as Christians, we're all praying against that and fighting against that, but we're actually, by doing this, a dent is being made in the human trafficking. It's like, but they're like, no, that's not true. It's like, well, we
Yeah, it
literally,
is.
it's like, do some research for God's sakes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, so it's kind of like the how the left is, or people who are you know left leaning. It's all about the what looks nice, not actually what the results actually are.
Yeah.
And how, like, the because of the situation, without with the situation going on now, is that these these adults are kidnapping kids, bringing them across the border, sending them back to Mexico to be kidnapped again and sent through again. And they're
Right,
finding
yeah,
that
it's like,
like,
yeah, they're
wait a
constantly
second, we
being
just saw
cycled through.
this kid, like,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
we
I
saw this
mean,
kid 10 days ago. Why is he coming back through the border? That's
right. I mean, yeah, like the famous picture of that little girl like crying because supposedly her mother was, had been detained. But it's like that girl was
all
trafficked too.
bullshit.
Like it was by her mother, but she was
Yeah.
still trafficked.
Yeah.
And like even like the father
It was
who had like a decent job and that family had like I think like three other kids besides the youngest there with the mom who made a run for the border. Like the father, he made a decent living. There was no real reason for her to try to even come over to America.
yeah, it's just
So I mean, yeah. So I mean, as much as we're pissed off and we're trying to fight against these monsters who who kidnap children from like their homes to be used as props to smuggle in other people. You know, um, we should also be condemning bad parents, like kind of in the same way that we condemn the Spielbergs for their crappy parenting and allowing their daughter to be. I mean, again, I don't know if they allowed, but they allowed their daughter to be molested and groomed and violated, like seemingly under their noses.
for not just like once or twice, it was like for years.
Yeah, right. I mean, like, yeah, the Spielberg girl, she described it as grooming, not like, oh, I got touched once. It's I got groomed, and that has a specific meaning. Meaning
Oof.
this was ongoing and continuous over a long period of time.
And from the sounds of it, it wasn't just one person either. It was multiple people that did this
Right.
to her.
Yeah, and again, like, I mean, and she went to an all girls school, but that doesn't preclude the possibility of it being a woman.
Yeah,
I
like I said, we
mean,
we don't.
just like a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the Jessica Simpson revelation and how you know like judging by what she had revealed, it was likely a female friend of the family that was
Yeah,
molesting her.
yeah, and that's that's a similar story to what we're talking about here, where the parents are really shitty. It's like, I knew it. Then why didn't you fucking do something?
Right? Yeah. Yeah. The mom, like in her self righteous indignation against like the father, is just like, I knew it. It's like, yeah, but you didn't do shit about it. Like even if you were wrong and you merely had this weird intuition, you should still have done something. Either confronted this woman or just completely remove your daughter from any contact with that woman. Even
Exactly.
yeah, even if it was non-confrontational, and if it was just like merely like, hey, you know what, we're not gonna go hang out with that family anymore, or that person any longer. Even if it was merely a passive thing where they just like kind of sever ties, that would have been more action than what Jessica Simpson's mother allowed to happen.
Yeah, and it's yeah, because we talked about that a couple weeks ago. But the thing is, we're gonna keep bringing these stories up because if no one talks about them, no one there's people who just like they sweep it under the rug. They don't want to they don't want to think about it. So it's, they stick your fingers in your ears and you think that, oh no, it's there's nothing bad out there.
Mm,
It's and you don't really think about this stuff, but we're going to keep bringing it up because we need to keep shining a light on these
right.
horrific
But
monsters
also,
that
but yeah,
that
but
should be
also, I mean, yeah, we don't mean to like bring these up to put fear into people. I mean, not at all. We want people to know that this stuff is going on, but also to you know take take a stand because these people, these predators, they're cowards. And if you
Yeah,
stand up to them a little bit, they'll back the hell off. Because they are cowards. So if you show even like the smallest amount of backbone, is enough for them to stay away from you forever.
yeah. And to be honest, if you allow these people to continue doing what they do, like this thing spreads like a disease because a lot of these pedophiles, they were they were sexually abused
Right.
themselves,
Yeah.
and
So yeah, again,
it's like a virus that passed
passing
through,
this disease,
never
passing
leaves
this
them.
infection along. That's yeah. It's the trauma. It's the cortisol. The cortisol dump that people get through fear and abuse. It messes with your mind. It rewires it. Turning into it changes you.
Yeah,
Uh,
and a lot of the victims end up becoming the predators themselves.
exactly. And all compassion to those victims. But then, once they become the predators, it's time to put them down.
For me, like I think that anyone that is convicted of this stuff should be dead. They should kill them because there's no rehabilitation. There's nothing that's gonna help them.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I hope in like their last minutes, I hope they find Jesus. Because I believe that all people are able to be redeemed in the eyes of the Heavenly Father, but no more life for them.
But yeah, they don't belong in
Yeah,
this
no
life
more.
anymore.
Yeah,
That's
no. I hope they seek forgiveness and redemption. In their last moments, but yeah, no more life for them.
yeah, it's and yeah, it's just it's sad that like I said, the response was intrigued and supportive instead of furious and like what the hell happened. It just
Right. Yeah.
disgusting.
Well, I mean, just before we started the show, you sent me that article about how Steven Spielberg's reaction was a little less supportive than what we were initially led to believe.
Yeah, as it should be, but is that just mere reaction to people saying like, "Dude, what the hell?"
Yeah,
Or is it?
yeah. It might not have been like I'm putting two in everybody's head. Uh, it may not have been that, but I mean, but just going by what I read, it was more of like, what the hell, girl, what the hell, as opposed to, I'm gonna burn this mother down.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, which is better, but I honestly would prefer, I'm gonna burn this mother down.
Remember, there are social betters,
There are
Andy. They
social
know better.
betters. Remember that, folks. The ones in Hollywood, there are social betters. So do
So
exactly
I
as
always
they
love,
say, but not as they do.
yeah, I always love getting lectured by Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I are lucky because I think we came up in a time when the media hold was like absolute. And we were still a little bit blinded to everything. Uh, but
Yeah,
now with social media, with the internet and social media and all this, everything just comes out. Everything is now being revealed.
it's not an easy time to be alive.
It's not an easy
That's for
time to
damn.
be alive, and that's why I and that's why I don't really use my Twitter. I go on it, and I to go witness the crazy, but I do not participate.
Yeah, like I said, like a couple weeks ago, I had my Twitter and all just the dumb shit that I see every
Yeah, it's
day.
like for me going to Twitter is like going to the monkey cage, but with an umbrella. Because they're just flinging shit at each other. But I don't want to. I don't engage. I don't want to get involved in it. So I carry an umbrella.
Yeah, that's smart. That's very smart.
Yeah, and then plus I don't put anything in writing. I only express myself through this medium, and people can chop it up and make me sound like a racist or intolerant person all they want, but then all I have to do is show them the entire clip within context, and it's done.
Oh, that's too easy to do, Andy. Like we can't have your whole context. That takes too long.
Yeah, but it exists, and once that gets out, it there's no way of uh, shooing it away.
Well, since we're on this horrific topic, should we talk about Harvey Weinstein?
Wait, what was it?
Since we're on this horrific topic, should we talk about Harvey Weinstein and
Oh
some of
yes,
the
of
updates
course.
on that?
Yes, of course. Of course, of course. Yeah, for those of you unaware, the verdict came down, and Harvey Weinstein is now convicted. I don't know if it was rapist or just sex offender.
I
I,
forget what the final
yeah, I
verdict
forget what like
was.
the
I don't.
exact verdicts were, but I do think I think I do remember it. One of them being rape. So I think he is a convicted rapist now.
Do you think if he would have fled to like Europe or something like Roman Polanski did, that he would be celebrated?
Uh, hmm. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no, and here's
You're gonna
why.
say no?
I'm gonna say no. He wouldn't be celebrated because Roman Polanski is at least a director, like an artist type. Whereas Harvey Weinstein is just a money man. Like he hasn't like really created anything. He's funded a lot of creation, but he's never himself created anything. So just like Roman Polanski, he he I think he was convicted, wasn't he? He was convicted. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, he
yeah.
was.
Okay, so he was convicted, and then he fled America and went into I forget which European country, but one that didn't have an extradition
Like
treaty with the
that.
United States.
Yeah, I
But and then
think he's in
he
France.
kept working, and he kept creating movies. And it was a time when before the internet, before everything was available to us. Um, for us to know. And so Roman Polanski was able to was able to uh, almost rehab his image. Not completely, but he all he had to do was wait it out for like the next generation who had no idea any of that stuff went on, and then all he had to do was like keep creating movies.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's doing the same thing he did here over there. It's just
Right,
we
right.
don't
But
have.
then again, it's the artist aspect of Roman Polanski that Harvey Weinstein doesn't have.
True. The only reason I ask that is because there's so many people are like that are up at these award shows. Like I had to thank Harvey Weinstein and all. It's like, oh God,
I know
it's
it's
like
like
these people.
those clips. they don't really they didn't age very well. Like particularly the one with Meryl Streep. You know, like oh, I want to thank God, and of course I'm talking about Harvey Weinstein.
God, Meryl Streep is one of the most horrific people. Great actress, but God, she is one horrible person.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'll give that to her. She's a hell of an actress. She's a hell of an actress because she fucking like lied about not knowing about Harvey Weinstein. It's like, oh, I had no idea.
Please.
Please.
Oh, and Oprah did the same thing, although she was essentially one of the Renfields for Harvey Weinstein.
No, yeah, she was. Oprah was a pimp.
Yeah, she was.
Oprah was a straight up pimp. Like there was that shot. There was that picture of her, basically, you know, giving Harvey Weinstein that one British artist, Rita Ora.
Yeah,
And you can
yeah,
see just like how uncomfortable like Rita Oro is, and like it's like, and Oprah is just like, oh, here you go, here's a nice here's a nice fresh snack for you, Harvey.
yeah. God.
I mean, look at that picture again, and like tell me I'm not wrong, or tell me that I'm wrong, or yeah, that's what I meant. Tell me that I'm wrong. And you see that picture, and it's not it's like it's like Harvey Weinstein's like the Rancor, and what's it? Oprah Winfrey's Jabba the Hutt feeding it a Twi'lek slave girl.
Yeah. Well, that's a great way of putting it, actually. God. Well, and here's the other thing too, is because there's definitely stories like that where you get those type of stories, but I think there's also a lot of the stories where some of those girls knew exactly what was going on, and that they knew that was the cost of doing business if that's what
Mm-hmm.
they wanted. But the thing is, like, you don't have to do that. So it's like,
Right. It's like you don't have to do that, right?
um,
But yeah,
yeah,
it's just like
and it's just, and the thing is, like,
it gets in their head
feel like
that they do.
or it's like, or that they're like, oh yeah, yeah, I'm getting money out of it, so yeah, that's fine. And then they come out like with this sanctimonious, like, oh, how dare you use your power against me? It's like, yeah, you have these string of like emails and phone calls to this guy, talking about like, oh, why don't you want to go out with me anymore, Harvey, and all this, like saying that they love him and all this, like, ew, it's well, for one, it's like, ew, really? But I don't know if it's like Stockholm syndrome or what, but it becomes less convincing that like that he was a predator to everybody in Hollywood. But I don't know. It's just, the whole thing is just disgusting.
Indeed. Yeah. Harvey Weinstein.
But the thing that he was, I don't know if he's how sickly he actually is, but he's been coming to the courtroom with his walker like he's this geriatric,
Yeah, no,
loser.
I saw right through that. I know that was just to gain like some sort of
That's all
sympathy.
bullshit.
Yeah.
That's all it. That was
Yeah, no,
part of the
I
show.
saw through it right away. I was like, bullshit.
I'm just
Just like him and his therapy, supposed therapy.
yeah.
But
What
yeah,
is he
I
trying
only
to look
went. I
like,
was
Bill
like,
Cosby? That
yeah, I went to therapy for a week. Now I'm better,
yeah, that Tiger Woods program.
right? Like, call me skeptical.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and he didn't even go. He didn't even go the entire time, and he was allowed to like. He was allowed to like keep his phone with him or whatever.
Yeah, it's all
Like, yeah,
bullshit.
he wasn't bound to. He wasn't bound to like the facility, so he could like make like day trips or whatever bullshit.
Oh, really,
Like, yeah, I wish I
just
can go to that kind of rehabilitation center. Do whatever the fuck I
right.
want.
But had this been, it would have been. Oh yeah, we're gonna throw this guy. We're gonna throw away the key. Put him in a prison cell and lock. Throw away the key.
Yeah, I mean, if it was like, yeah, if it was any Tom, Dick, or Harry, just on the street, it, you know, like you said, lock them up, throw away the key, never see the light of day.
Which is what should happen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. Yeah,
Oh,
I don't know why Skype does this, but it sometimes freaks out.
still freaking out.
No, I fixed it for now. Let's see. Yeah, I was looking up the verdict. What the verdict was. Okay, yeah, he was convicted of rape and criminal sexual assault.
They haven't sentenced him yet. They haven't sentenced him though yet, right?
No, he was just convicted. He wasn't sentenced.
Okay.
Although he faces up to 29 years behind bars, though he was acquitted of the two most serious charges: predatory sexual assault.
Well, hopefully he'll get the maximum of that.
Although I think of all people, Bill Cosby had a take on this, which I don't think I didn't catch it. I just know that he had put something out there, but it was not received very well.
You think? Were you surprised though, like when you heard like about the whole Bill Cosby thing?
I'll admit it hurt. I grew up with Bill Cosby. Um, I still remember watching the reruns on on TBS or what have you. So yeah, it was a bit of a bitter pill to swallow.
He was so influential for so many like different types of like sitcoms, TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
His comedy is actually really funny. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was. I'll be honest. I was a bit surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear one thing, it's like okay, it's like really you're coming after like because he's almost 90 now. If
Yeah.
but then you start hearing more and more. It's like maybe this isn't complete. You start hearing the evidence like maybe this isn't bullshit. It's like this is pretty bad.
Yeah. No, it's like there was part of me that still was like holding out. Uh, there's still part of me holding out hope that he would have been acquitted, or it would have turned out like all these bitches were liars. Again, sorry bitches, I didn't mean to call you bitches. Um,
Because
but
we don't believe all women.
yeah, right. No, because it was like for a little bit it was getting kind of absurd because like just the amount of women that were coming forward. But then I was just like, damn, look at all the women that are coming forward, and their
And
stories
it,
are
and
like,
it wasn't and it wasn't like a Kavanaugh thing where it's like you start dogpiling and it's all like you outlandish. Like you start looking into it, it's like this never happened. Type
right,
of
yeah, like yeah, it
accusation.
wasn't
This
like
was
it
like
wasn't like a Blasey Ford thing or a Julie Swetnick thing.
no,
Um,
these were actually like they knew what they knew the time, they knew where they were, they knew what took place, and they're actually able to give you know details of what happened.
right, exactly.
And that's where it's like, oh, maybe this isn't bullshit. Maybe this is real.
Exactly, yeah, because like, kind of like Juanita Broderick, who was raped by Bill Clinton, and I'm not prefacing it by saying alleged,
No,
because
there's no like.
there is no alleged there, because her story has remained consistent for over 40 years, I believe, and she had a witness. I mean, not
Yeah,
necessarily of the rape, but then there was a witness of her condition directly after it, and it lines up, and it line, and the witness attests to all the facts that she was found. She did have a black eye. She did have a bite on her lip. All that stuff that she had said that Bill Clinton had did. Um, during his rape of her.
right. But
So
yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
so like these
there's stories
women,
like that.
yeah, but there was this one thing that, well, it's this is gonna make me sound bad, but when he was describing how, like, everyone did quaaludes back then. It was weird, but then I thought that would might have been an avenue to to dismiss the case.
Which, to be honest, that was kind of true.
Right, yeah, because it was just like it was the times, like when back in the late '70s, early '80s, when you're trying to
They
have a
used to
good
have like they
time.
used to have like
What was that?
they had sex clubs back then
Right,
that
yeah,
were open.
and
They were like open until it wasn't until the AIDS epidemic where they stopped having those. But like there was it wasn't like some hidden secret. Like they were sex clubs.
right, and I mean, and quaaludes were just kind of like almost like M&Ms. You just had
Yeah,
them in a jar, on the nightstand, practically. And so, um, again, I don't mean to sound like I'm defending what Cosby did, or endorsing, you know, uh, basically, drugging and raping people. But during that time, there was a culture of drug use and sex in conjunction with
yeah,
each other. So, there,
yep.
could it have been like that he was having sex with these women? Like, yes, and it was like, and they were both, they were both like doing drugs. They were both equally doing the drugs and then having sex with each other. Yes, but it's just all the stories afterwards where like the girls were saying like, oh, I found myself, in the back of a car with my clothes already on, and like, they were like the buttons were like, mismatched, not buttoned up in the right places, so it was like kind of off, and or a guy gave me an envelope and told me to keep my mouth shut. Um, you know,
Yeah,
that was just like, okay, he did it.
yeah.
You know,
And it's like, man, if Cosby could do that, geez, who else do we not know of that was kind of that does stuff like this?
yeah. I mean, although a small part of me does want to go conspiracy theory and say that, uh, again, it's kind of like what we talked about initially about, like, secret societies, and having they had a gun on him. They had a body on a gun on him, and what there was like that rumor that he was planning on buying NBC.
Who, Cosby?
Yeah, he was like I think he was making an attempt to buy NBC, and then I don't know to like stop him. They had to like bring out all of the victims to stop him.
I hadn't heard that. That's
Yeah, I
interesting.
forget. Yeah, it was a long time ago. It was back when I didn't really give credence to conspiracy theories, but uh, but when you have things like Epstein or Building 7, you know,
Yeah. Oh, no, I hear you.
yeah, you kind of start thinking about it. But yeah, that's. I mean, I'm not saying that he didn't like drug and rape those girls, but I'm saying that would, if he wasn't trying to do, if he wasn't like getting uppity or whatever, or trying to, maybe even wrest control of NBC away from somebody else, we might not have Cosby may not be in prison right now, or his legacy might not have been destroyed.
I mean, hell, they tried to protect Harvey Weinstein for as long as they did because they were trying to protect Matt Lauer.
Right? Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Or I mean, if you are of the conspiratorial mindset, it's they purposefully destroyed Harvey Weinstein. Um,
To save Matt Lauer.
or no, not even to save Matt Lauer, but just because they knew that the tide was shifting on that, and so like they like again, this is okay. This is from Owen Benjamin, and he was talking about how like he still had someone like who was being repped by his former agency, and that they were
Yep.
the like his agency was the one, and that agency also represented Harvey Weinstein, and it was them. It was that agency that came up with like the whole Me Too movement.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff going on with that company.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, it was like, and interestingly enough, it was J.J. Abrams' wife that was the one to spearhead it.
Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know how exactly that fits in, but I still have
Yeah,
to do some.
maybe it's
What?
one of those things where it's like we'll feed you a couple of like low level monsters to kind
Mhm.
of and just to kind of
Yeah,
keep you guys
I think that might
going.
be the angles. Like it's to like satisfy the sense of justice, because if no one gets if no one gets charged or convicted or sent to prison, it's there'll be a full scale uprising,
Yeah,
and they can't have that. So
because then there's more investigation, there's more outrage.
exactly. Plus, it also like once they get like the biggest offenders, then like they'll like forget about like all the other indiscretions.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
Me too. I feel so damn
this is
gross. But
this is the
again,
stuff.
we're not bringing this up to to instill fear or to make you afraid. Is we're bringing this up so you know not to be afraid, and to have courage, because again, that these people are cowards. If you show even the smallest inch of backbone, they'll back off.
Yep.
All right, let's get off of this.
Gotta shake that off.
Yeah,
Ugh.
I gotta shake it. All right, let's get off the. Yeah, we shook off all the heaviness. Let's get into some lighter things. I think Robert, you wanted to do kind of a follow up. One of the
Well, let's
stories
share
that we
some good
can.
news.
What was that?
Well, let's share some good news now.
Yes, some good
So
news.
last week we had that uh, going back to racing because NASCAR season's back. So that's something I'm probably gonna be talking about quite a bit for a few weeks. But we had that horrible wreck at Daytona with Ryan Newman and uh, really scary stuff. Last week we didn't really know exactly what was going on with him, but um, he did get out of the hospital. He's been released. He's at home recovering with his kids and his family, which is great news. Um, it's uh, we don't know the extent of his injuries have not been said, but he is going to be out of the car for a little while he recovers. But he is okay. And he has talked about like that he'll be back. Um, More than likely, it didn't look like he had any broken bones from what I could see. So it's probably more than likely like a really bad concussion that he received. And so they're gonna give him a few weeks to kind of let his brain heal up and everything, and go through the number of tests that he's gonna need to go through. Had this been, had this been 20, 30 years ago and he was fine like he was, he'd probably be racing the next week, which would have been insane. Um, so I'm kind of glad that he's going to be able to rest up, get healed up, and get back in the car. Um, but yeah, no, that was one of the scariest wrecks I've ever seen, just with the way that the driver's side um, like A-frame just caved in the way it did. But thanks to some of the safety innovations that have been put in place the last number of years, it saved his life. So it was really good to see him be with his family and that he walked out of the hospital, which is great.
Yeah, it was. Even from a non-sports fan, when I saw footage of that wreck, I was like, "Holy shit, that guy's probably dead." But then when when the word came out that that he was that I mean not fine, but he survived the crash, um, it was like, holy crap, that's amazing. Um,
Yeah.
because again, as a non racing fan, I remember hearing about Dale Earnhardt and just like crash that he went through too, and just like and I'm sure for a lot of racing fans, they're kind of having like those flashbacks.
Well, yeah, and the thing is with Dale's wreck, it didn't look half as horrific as Ryan Newman's was.
Hmm.
Um, Dale's wreck was one of those things where it just all these things kind of failed at once, which is just it was just stuff went bad in Dale's wreck,
Right.
which caused
Yeah, the
his
system broke down basically.
right.
You could have like one or two of these things fail and still be okay, but then just like everything just kind of collapsed.
Yeah, it was just such a weird set of events that it's just oh man, it's so
Yeah, it was a it
terrible.
was a freak
But yeah,
accident. It was a it's one of those. It's like the
it
inconceivable. It's the inconceivable scenarios that the engineers and such couldn't like possibly think
no
of
one.
happening.
Yeah,
It's like yeah,
exactly.
one or two of these things might fail, but not all of them.
Yeah, and but that's definitely what a lot of NASCAR fans were thinking. It was like, oh, geez, like this is bad. This is really bad.
Mhm.
And you see, one of the things when you start to see the safety crews cut, the roof off of the car, that's a bad sign. That's
Right.
always like, yeah, you're looking at it's not good. And that's exactly what was going on this time. and it's like, oh boy, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
And you're hoping for the best, but you're thinking it's the worst. And the fact that he not only survived, but a couple days later, he's walking out of the hospital. It's like, oh man, that's yeah, you kind of breathe a sigh of relief. It's like, man, we dodged a bullet there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of hoping that the we don't just say like, oh well, nobody died, just kind of slap our hands together and it's like we're good to go. It's like, no, I think we need to look at a few things, because that racetrack, Daytona and Talladega, which is kind of its sister track, these super speedways, they're going pretty damn fast.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, those tracks have always had a lot of close racing, high speeds, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that the racing has progressed at these racetracks with these giant packs, there's no, to me, it's not very safe. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and we're getting to the point where these races, which used to have a lot more strategy involved, and you have to utilize teammates or other cars to help you win a race, but
Mm-hmm.
those packs could get broken up throughout the race, and so you're not 30 cars, three wide, 10 rows deep. Where like someone blows a tire, or they bump draft wrong and it takes out 90% of the field, and you get what you get at the start finish line on these races. um, there's I think there should be something where we look at the possibility of getting away from having these giant close packs at 200 some miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that could be done, but uh, something we have to look at it and see what we can do to make it safer for now. And I'm pretty sure NASCAR is going to do that. So we'll see what happens.
But yeah, good news. Yeah, Ryan Murphy's gonna be okay. Uh,
Yeah, it's really good. I'm glad he's all right.
yeah.
He's not my favorite driver, but I I think it's good. I'm glad that he survived, and yeah, I want to see him back in the race car again.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Right. I do believe that was the last of the stories. Uh,
Yeah, we can jump into the well, actually, okay, well, one thing. So here's the thing, because I've been like I was talking about at the beginning of the thing, since we'll and then after this we'll go into the movie review. But so I've been watching a lot of old races, just because I'm a NASCAR freak, and so I want to share 5 races with you that I think that you, even as a non-fan, should watch, just because I think these are some of the great races that are out there that are exciting and fun to watch. And so I'm gonna talk about a couple of these races I think you should watch.
okay.
All right, so we have the 1992 the All-Star race, which was called the Winston. It was the very first time that a super speedway was put under the lights, which people thought they were crazy to do.
Oh, so this is at
And
this was at night.
that Charlotte Motor Speedway was put under the lights.
Okay.
Now it's pretty consistent on a lot of tracks, but and it created a lot of buzz, and the race was fantastic. Um, it came down to 3 guys at the end: Davey Allison, Kyle Petty, and Dale Earnhardt racing for the lead. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Very exciting race. So that's one, and that's a shorter race. So you're not, that's definitely one that I think you should watch. Then a couple races from 1997. The 1997 Food City 500 at Bristol Motor Speedway, which was a really, and it's a short track, always a lot of action, a lot of fun to watch. The 1997 Food City 500, or no, the Southern 500 at Darlington. That's that race. Jeff Gordon at the time was going for a bonus of $1 million for winning 3 out of the 4 Crown Jewel events in NASCAR. Prizes that drivers would go for winning certain races out of the year, which they unfortunately don't do anymore. I think it made things a lot more exciting for the fans and gave, because the drivers seem to, certain drivers seem to step up in those occasions, and it was always fun to watch. The 2001 Cracker Barrel 500 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. This was one of the races just after Dale Earnhardt's death that came down to a 5-car battle with Dale Earnhardt's replacement, Kevin Harvick, winning that race in a really close finish. It was a very exciting race. And the last race I think you should check out is the 2003 Carolina Dodge Dealers 400, also at Darlington, which was the closest finish in NASCAR history. And that's also one of the most exciting. That to me is the most exciting race I've ever seen, live on television. It was great.
Okay, so those are the 5 races that you think that I, as a non-racing fan, should watch to be bitten by the NASCAR bug.
Yeah. Oh, and sorry, and one more for honorable mention is the 2000 Winston 500 at Talladega, which was Dale Earnhardt's last victory. That was also a very, very exciting race.
Okay. There you have it. Those are the 5 races that Robert thinks that will get me to switch on to NASCAR. I don't know. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. I'm not holding my breath. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. Let's end.
I'll make you a NASCAR fan.
What was that?
I'll get you to be a NASCAR fan yet.
I doubt it. I doubt it, but crazier things have happened. All right, so let's wrap up tonight's show with our movie review, which concludes our theme month of Sylvester Stallone, and we end it with one of my favorite Stallone movies. Honestly, this is one of my favorite ones. And I think, what was that?
This is definitely up there for me. It's probably number 2 behind the original Rocky, but it's really it's good.
Yeah, it's really good. It's one of my personal favorite, and it is 1993's Demolition Man. Of course, obviously starring Wesley Snipes. Obviously starring Sylvester Stallone with Wesley Snipes.
This is a star-studded film. Let me tell you. You have Sylvester Stallone,
actually,
Wesley
yeah.
Snipes.
You have a burgeoning Sandra Bullock.
And then a bunch of cameos. You have Dennis Leary, Rob Schneider, Benjamin Bratt, and a bunch of other.
Yeah, a lot of really heavy hitters. Particularly the police chief, who's been in every 90s movie there is, including Shawshank.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so just a lot of familiar faces. I mean, particularly if you grew up in the '90s and watched a lot of movies from that time, yeah, just a lot of recognizable faces.
Oh,
Uh,
Jesse Ventura is also in
oh
this
yeah,
film
Jesse
too,
Ventura as one of the
and
henchmen.
Jack Black. And
That's
Jack Black.
right. Uh huh. That's also true. Another like future. I don't know. He's not really an A-lister. He's more like an A minus lister.
Yeah, I would
Because
say that's
he's
pretty.
still like really popular, and he has and he definitely has a recognizable name, but he's not what I would consider A-list.
Yeah, but he's not on the B list either. He's
Yeah,
somewhere
but
in
he's not a
between.
B-lister either. That's the weird thing. So yeah, he's like an A minuser,
Yeah.
which still isn't a bad place to be. Or is it? Just kidding. All right. Quick synopsis of the film. Okay. With innocent victims caught in the crossfire in Los Angeles' intensifying war on crime, both cop John Spartan and violent thug Simon Phoenix are sentenced to a state of frozen incarceration known as cryoprison. When Spartan is finally thawed 36 years later, it's 2032, and Los Angeles is now a pacifist utopia called San Angeles. With Phoenix again on the loose, Spartan must team up with the future cop Lilina, Sandra Bullock's character, to apprehend the killer. Let me just
So
say
there was
this at the outset: this movie became prophecy.
God, yeah.
This movie became a prophecy. Uh, in that, as bad because in the beginning of the film, it depicts Los Angeles, very poorly. It's crime ridden. The police are essentially uh, a paramilitary organization. Um, and Wesley Snipes' character Simon Phoenix has carved himself a vast criminal kingdom in South Los Angeles. I mean, the opening shot. The opening
Yep.
shot is the Hollywood sign on fire. Um, but then we are contrasted that to the pacifist utopia, uh, the serenity that is granted through what is pretty much a totalitarian or authoritarian government. In
Yeah.
what is it? Raymond Cocteau.
Yeah. There was
It's
I was reading up about this movie, and they were saying it's based off, very loosely based off of Aldous Huxley's A Brave New World. There's
mm-hmm.
even talk of there was I think it was a Hungarian author who said that this story, he claimed that Demolition Man was completely ripped off of one of his stories as well. And I'm drawing a blank on the name of that author and the book title that it was supposedly ripped off of. Um, but but there's definitely influence from different story, kind of like these dystopian
Oh yeah,
stories
absolutely.
like that.
Yeah, I mean, not and like not even necessarily like books, but I mean, well, probably all books. But yeah, like there's like bits that reminded me of like like a movie called Brazil, which is all which Futurama heavily is inspired from, particularly like the Bureau of Bureaucrats. That is
Yeah.
100% inspired by this movie called Brazil. Um, but yeah, this movie, like, yeah, Demolition Man is pretty much like prophecy now, given the state of our society today. And it's not even that like the time frame isn't even that far off. It's like maybe it's like 12 years.
Yeah. Well, this is
But it's already here. I mean, because in the future, they have one of the things that they have strict uh, language laws. They have monitors all over the city, and if you use a naughty word, then you're fined. You're fined for using foul language. Um, what
well here,
else?
and here's the crazy thing, which is, I mean, this is leftism gone amok, where it's allowed to rule the thing, and the ugly, nasty people, they're forced into the sewers because they don't want to live in that
Right,
this
right, right. I was, yeah,
hole.
I was gonna eventually get to there, but then yeah, like you have like this completely socially engineered city on top, where everyone dresses like kind of like gender non-specific clothing because they all like wear kind of like the clothes of the day is like very influenced by like Japanese like kimonos. It's like full body length. It hides the distinctiveness of like women's bodies or male bodies. Um,
It's like this, like, Logan's Run type of look.
what was that?
It's like this Logan's Run type of look that they're going
Right.
for.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, like there's like so little crime that when there's reports of graffiti on board, that's like the most exciting thing that happens. Um, but what else? Yeah, no, like meat, salt. Those are all outlawed, including and like also like physical contact sports um, are outlawed. Even sex is outlawed. Um, and reproduction is heavily controlled through the state.
Jesus Christ.
Which is
Yeah.
pretty much what we got going on because we have the state is trying to control what or like at least trying to like teach what type of sex certain types of sex to children like there's curriculum that goes to describe how to teach children how to masturbate.
Yeah.
um
Well, and then the other thing too, going to, like, the idea of language control,
mhm.
and pretty much uh, regulating behavior, and gives you like a score depending on what your how
Oh yeah, social
good
credit
or bad your
score.
behavior is. But that's starting to happen there's some cities in, like, Canada, and even cities in America that are trying to implement this, where they're putting, like, cameras throughout these cameras that pick up and detect, like, what people are doing, and they're getting certain, like, demerits, or
Right, right.
positive credit points.
It's a big brother state where there's like cameras, everywhere. So the police or like the state can monitor you 24 hours a day. Um, you're basically low-jacked because they one of the things that the leader of this new utopian society creates is a bioorganic chip that can track you. I mean, that's pretty much cell phones today.
Yeah.
Because they're constantly on us. And it's able to track us. The scariest thing happened to me just a little while ago when I was using Google Maps, and I was driving on the freeway, and then I noticed this new feature in the corner of the screen, and it was a speed limit sign. And usually it it doesn't. I'm not. I've seen it before, so it wasn't too unusual for me to see. But then all of a sudden, as I was going past, going beyond the speed limit, it started tracking my speed. Something that it's never done before. It always showed me the speed limit on like that particular road or freeway, but it never tracked how fast I was going.
That's disturbing.
Yeah, exactly.
All
So
right, that's something I'm never using again.
right, yeah, but I was genuinely freaked out because I to a certain extent I understand that that we did to ourselves. We low jacked ourselves with our phones and like the GPS and apps like Google Maps have made traveling a lot easier, or at least in terms of navigating around like cities or places that you've never been. Completely revolutionized the way people travel. And I understand like a certain amount of monitoring, but yeah, but when I saw that second speed limit sign, but then it was tracking how fast I was actually going in real time. That felt like surveillance.
Yeah, that's horrific.
Yeah, because again, I understand like there's a certain bit of monitoring happening. When we use like these apps and we enable the GPS to be utilized for certain apps or whatever. I completely understand it, but again, when that second speed limit sign came up and it was tracking me, that felt like surveillance. Like I was being watched, as opposed to being like passively watched. You know, with the GPS data. But yeah, it just felt like this felt like more. I don't know why. They're practically the same thing, but that I felt surveilled.
Oh God.
But anyways, yeah. So yeah, we like this like the hellish future that Demolition Man predicts pretty much happened.
Yeah, or if it hasn't happened, it's on its way if we're not careful.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it hasn't got like the level of technology that they created is a little bit out. Is still a little science fictiony, but more or less the concepts are right on. Like like on Twitter, like on social media or like YouTube, they have strict language laws, and like if you break it, then you're penalized. You're not allowed to upload, or you're not allowed to live stream. That's the language laws. Again, with like the microchip thing that tracks your whereabouts 24/7 and even monitors um, your vital signs. So like they know like if someone dies or someone is murdered, the police are immediately notified because the chip that's sewn into their hand lets them know. I mean that's our
Yeah.
smartphones. That's our it has GPS. It has monitors for people who use it for health reasons. Um, um, the whole restriction and control of reproduction. I mean, I don't think we're exactly there yet because theirs was a little bit more severe. Like you had to get a license to have children, and then you had to go and go to like a sperm bank to make a deposit to then like uh, to kind of clean your junk essentially before you could then like artificially inseminate it and then implant it into your partner.
Yeah.
I mean, like our society hasn't gotten that far, but the scare tactics of using because like Sandra Bullock's character, she was talking about like how first there was like HIV, then AIDS, and like all these like new kind of super viruses, sexually transmitted diseases that
Yeah.
came up after that. It's just like but the idea of using illness as a scare tactic and as a way of as a means of controlling population. I mean, what do you think coronavirus is? I mean, Corona. I mean,
That's
yeah, they
exactly.
say like 600 people have died. Okay, name me the 600 people. Give me names. I want to know who died. You don't give me any names, I don't believe anyone died.
Yeah, that's
So again,
kind of a
this movie like predicted our future. I mean, I get it. Like some of like the more advanced technology doesn't exist, but the concepts are still there. But yeah, also, but then just as Robert said, there is a faction of people who rebel against the state and who live underground and kind of try to eke out a life for themselves. Um, and what is it? Yeah, the main the main or one of the main antagonists, Raymond Cocteau, he describes them as the last real criminal element in the city. Uh, but but that again, that's just kind of like the media spin. Talking about it's kind of like how they describe all white people as racist or Trump supporters as racist. It's just people that that disagree with Raymond Cocteau's vision of the world, but he
right.
immediately cast them as these villains, these bad guys.
We're at a point where we're so diametrically opposed, politically and
Mm,
socially. It seems like that this is a real possibility of that happening, where we just can't live together.
right, because I mean I don't know if it was always like this, but the whole reason why it shifted was because the left attached morality to it.
Yeah.
So like they're saying, so they basically, so they attach. Like, if you are not a leftist, if you do not think the way that I think, then that makes you morally evil.
Yep.
And that's the difference. That really is the difference because they shifted. It's no longer just two people wanting the same thing, but having different ideas of how to get about there. Kind of like the the when was Obama elected?
That was
The first term,
2008.
2008.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2000.
So it was like no longer is it the 2008 Obama. When he was having when they would have town halls and people would stand up and say, "Oh, I think Obama is trying to destroy the country," or "I think McCain is trying to kill the or destroy the country," and they both said it's like, was like, "Oh no," it's like no, like they're like they're not evil. Like, they just they want the same thing I do. They just have a different idea of how to go about it.
Right.
That was it.
That's no longer.
That was the last time that was a thing. It's now like if you are not a leftist, if you are not a socialist, if you are not a radical feminist, then you are evil and you must be destroyed.
Yeah, that's
You know, yeah, because it's like it's
that's
the
pretty much
yeah, because
reality.
that's what the left thinks. The right thinks like, oh, you're wrong, but hey, let's go get a beer afterwards.
Yep.
That's all it is. Like I don't think you're evil for how you see the world. I just think you're wrong.
Yeah. It's This movie is really scary on how um accurate it is.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, just that speech that Dennis Leary gives, about like, oh, I want to, I want to smoke in the non-smoking section. I want to, I want to run down the street naked, with my body covered in, green Jello, reading a Playboy magazine, just because I feel like I might happen to feel like I want to do that.
right.
You know,
It was a great speech.
it was a great speech. It's a
God,
really great
that
speech.
is so Dennis Leary too.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think I think Dennis Leary was like his peak kind of that kind of like asshole kind of comic.
yeah. Well, I mean, he wasn't playing a character; he was playing Dennis Leary.
Yeah, exactly. But also invariably, Raymond Cocteau orchestrates Simon Phoenix's escape, but kind of like how the left, or the leftist elite, or even like the left politicians, they create something to go and destroy their enemies. It ultimately ends up destroying them,
Yeah,
which is the case in Raymond Cocteau and Simon Phoenix relationship, because again, Raymond Cocteau is like the leader. He's the one that engineered this new society that everyone lives in. But I guess Edgar Friendly, Dennis Leary's character, was being too much of a pain in his side, and so and he was a leader. Even though he didn't want the job. And he even says as much to Sylvester Stallone's character. Um, but Raymond Cocteau viewed Dennis Leary as a leader, so he had to get rid of him. And so he recreates Simon Phoenix, because during Simon Phoenix's rehabilitation, he's given the tools to be the most effective killer possible. And during during their cryo sleep, they're given like this neural implant thing that reconditions the subject's mind. And the rehabilitation program that Simon Phoenix got was like how to fight, how to create explosives, how to access computers, and also like increase his strength. So Raymond Cocteau, created the monster that to unleash on his enemy Edgar Friendly. But
right.
as we see in the movie and also in real life, the monsters that these people create invariably end up destroying them.
Eating them.
Yeah, eating them,
Yeah,
which is the case for Raymond Cocteau, because even though he thought he was being smart and clever and put this inhibition in uh, this conditioning in Simon Phoenix, that Simon Phoenix couldn't kill him. And there was there was multiple scenes where Simon Phoenix was trying to kill him, Raymond Cocteau, but he just couldn't do it.
yep,
But it's not until towards the end of the movie where he finds a way around that, because he gets an underling to kill him for him.
yeah. And it's like, oh, whoops.
Yeah. So again, So Raymond Cocteau basically recreates Simon Phoenix to kill his enemy, but it backfires and ends up killing him. Uh, and if you guys don't understand, if you guys haven't gotten the real world parallel, uh, think of Antifa.
Yeah,
Antifa is a creation of the left. And whether it doesn't even matter if it was directly created by like the elitist politicians or whoever. Um, I mean, they were definitely funded by them, by some of them. Um,
yeah. That's
and
true.
so in some way they are responsible for them. Uh, but I mean, look at what they did. Like Antifa's done. They pretty much made Portland unlivable. They nearly burned down Berkeley. Um, they burned down migrant limo drivers' only means of making a living during inauguration day for Trump. What else? They promote violence. Um, they basically destroy like everything that they basically destroy everything. Um, and in the way that they kill their masters is, not literally, but if you think about it, if you think about the first time Bernie ran in 2015, 2016, there's that scene where those Black Lives Matter activists stormed the stage and like took the microphone away from them. That was the moment. That was when the monsters began to eat the masters.
Yep.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders was like all for Black Lives Matter, and I bet he would have campaigned on that issue. But these emboldened, these empowered, Black Lives Matter activists, they ran up on the stage and grabbed the microphone. Because at that moment, that the monster ate the master.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of a scary look of the fact that they were seeing this in '93
Mm-hmm.
and how this kind of took place. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, that's why I told you I wanted to do this movie because it was because again this movie was prophecy. And again, it's like, yeah, I'm being a little bit hyperbolic, but you watch this movie and you don't see the parallels with the things that are going on today, then you are truly blind, and may God have mercy on your soul.
um, but yeah, this is one of those because I had never seen this movie before, so
Mm-hmm.
this is a new experience for me. But this is a great movie. This is
Yeah.
you just even with all the kind of predictions and stuff that this movie made, it's it was just an exciting movie.
Yeah, and it's fun, and it's just fun. It's even though it was like, even though it was predicting abject horror. The movie itself is really fun. The action sequences are great. Wesley Snipes is freaking awesome in this movie.
I think honestly, I would say his portrayal of Simon Phoenix is even more exciting than Stallone's John Spartan.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can see that Wesley Snipes is just having a blast with his character.
Yeah. Well,
And so like
so
even like
here's
even go ahead.
here's the one thing about that I liked about the film too is despite all this kind of scary predictions that it makes,
Mm-hmm.
you can tell that the film is trying to say like that this stuff that how San Angeles was, it's like we all realize like, oh God, that's scary. You have John Spartan who's saying it's like enough of this fascist bullshit. And then even Simon Phoenix who's just taking advantage of it's like, look at all these sissies. I can have my way here. It's so easy.
Right, yeah, because
And then
yeah,
you have
everyone's a pushover.
and no one thinks of the um, Edgar Friendly and his crew living in the sewers. We don't see them as the bad guys. It's like we kind of see them as like, yeah, he's right. Like this is crazy. So I mean, there's at least in the sense where the movie isn't like promoting this utopian Cocteau's utopian vision.
Mm-hmm.
It's making fun of it.
Yeah,
So at least
exactly.
that
It's
it
making
has
fun of it.
going for it.
Making
Um,
fun. Yeah, because
but God, yeah,
because even uh, what is it? Sandra Bullock's character has a kind of intense moment between her and the chief, and one of her cop buddies comes in. It's like, oh man, that was really tense. It was just like and it wasn't even that bad. She was like, she was just saying like, because she heard that there was like, like a graffiti. There was a graffiti call, and she's like, oh well, why didn't you call, why didn't you let me know? Why didn't you call, put out a bulletin, so we can go do our jobs. And then the police chief comes in, is like, oh, it seems like you want, it seems like you want to have anarchy. It seems like you want to go, kind of being hyperbolic, and it's like saying, oh, graffiti. It's like he's like, it's like you want to, make everyone freak out and, have, go into anarchy. And
Yeah,
and it's like, God damn, you guys are fucking pussies.
it's crazy like how all the male cops and stuff, like they're so they're
So
like a lot of
cooked.
men now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like they, like like, and of course, like they don't even have physical contact greetings anymore. They do like that weird little like hand thing where it's like, ugh.
Like at that communist meeting where like they're like, uh don't clap your hands because there's a lot of people with like that can freak out from auditory sound, so let's just you know whatever the fuck that they were
Man,
doing is like the snap.
I so desperately kind of want to go to like one of those slam poetry things, and then see them like snap and be like, excuse me, I am triggered, you ableist fucks, because I cannot snap my fingers. I kind of want to do that. I kind of want to go and do that.
Oh my god, that would be
Oh man. Oh man, I made myself choke on my own spit.
part of me wants to see that too. Oh, that's essentially um
It's just too
but
perfect.
no,
It's
yeah,
just too perfect.
but yeah, Simon Phoenix was probably my favorite character in the film, even though he's the bad guy. I
Oh
loved
yeah.
like
Oh
his like
man.
little well,
Man,
I
Wesley
loved
Snipes
his
was
like
just having
little
so much fun with this role.
and I loved like the little theme song that he had. Like anytime like he like because he had these crazy moves that he would do, and it's like you'd hear like this record scratching like kind of theme song to him.
Yeah,
Every
yeah,
time he talked,
yeah.
it's just he was a great character. He had a lot
Yeah,
of fun. Um,
yeah.
one of the best
Especially,
lines towards the end of the film, where like he's after he killed Raymond Cocteau, and he's releasing a lot of these a lot of these prisoners from the cryo prison,
mm.
and it's like Jeffrey Dahmer. I love that guy. One of the great lines. Like what the hell?
Yeah. Oh, and then
But
yeah, also when he confronts Kato, and he asks for like, help, so and just like the way he like changed the voice commands for the lights.
yeah,
I thought that was really fun. He's like, no, 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 no,
yeah,
no, no, no. It's like illuminate, deluminate. See, it's a lot more fun
yeah,
that way.
yeah.
Yeah, but just yeah, Wesley
Uh,
Snipes was having so much fun with his character. So, and oddly enough, even though he was a psycho killer, he Simon Phoenix was a really likable character.
oh yeah, yeah. You like him. And then the this is probably the most comedic I've ever seen Sylvester Stallone, especially his the relationship between him and Huxley, um,
Hmm.
where she kept like getting all these sayings wrong. He's like, no, it's this.
Yeah, yeah.
It's-
I think one of my favorites is let's go blow this guy. It's like, Let's go blow this guy away.
away. Or the when he's deliberately cursing at the demerit machine
Oh
because
yeah,
they
yeah,
didn't have
yeah.
toilet paper,
Uh huh.
and so he's like, "Well, I don't have, now you got some toilet paper."
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. It is. Yeah,
and then
it is his
laugh.
most comedic performance.
Yeah, I mean, outside of maybe the Expendables, like this is definitely the most comedic I've ever seen Sylvester Stallone
Hmm.
um, in a role. Um, the other thing that I thought was like, because there was always that joke with like, the bathroom. It's like he doesn't know how to use the three seashells. It's like,
Yeah. Oh my god,
it's like,
there's an entire Reddit thread about like theories on how those seashells work.
but that's the thing. It's never answered. It's like, what the hell are the three seashells? Like, are they like bidets? Is it, is it like,
Right,
how does it
exactly.
work?
How does like are you using it to scrape the shit off your butthole or
Yeah, and it's never answered. And
yeah, it's
even at
never
the end of
answered.
the movie,
There's
it's
a
like,
there's a there's an entire Reddit thread devoted to theories about how
oh,
those seashells work.
I'm gonna have to look that up because that was the one thing. It's like because even at the end, he's like, "Now you got to tell me how those three seashells work."
Right? Yeah.
It's like, it's like, yeah, I want to know too.
Yeah. I mean, but I think yeah, it's like those. That's like one of those things where it like doesn't really matter. It's kind of like in Avengers when Hawkeye and Black Widow character always are referencing that incident in Budapest.
Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't really
well,
like it's kind of like the pivotal moment of their relationship, but then it also doesn't matter like what happened because
I
it's left to the imagination of the viewer to kind of fill that in.
I kind of hope they don't ruin that moment in the new Black Widow film where they show the Budapest incident.
Right, right, right. But I think we might be spared it. I don't know if they're gonna do a flashback. Um, but I think we might be spared that because this movie is supposed to take place after Civil War, but before Infinity War.
Okay.
So it might be referenced, but it probably won't be expounded upon.
I kind of, see, that's the thing. I kind of hope that that's the case, just because you kind of like the imagination of like, well, what the hell happened? It's like, or what the hell is this? That makes it sometimes more interesting, and I like having where you have all these different theories, like through Reddit and stuff, and
Uh-huh.
it's never fully answered, but like you have people like, God, what the hell does that mean?
Hmm.
I think that makes it more fun, more exciting,
Right, because like
and
right, because
this
in
is
the first Avengers movie, Black Widow was like first, was like, oh, this reminds me of Budapest, and then Hawkeye was like, you and I remember Budapest very differently. You know which you know which you know means like they were in a similar situation where they're surrounded by all on all sides, and it was just them two, or
that's the thing is like we
yeah, we
don't
just
really
don't
know.
know. But again, like it matters, but it really doesn't matter.
And see, this is a case of a movie doing this correctly. See, like last month when we had all the degenerate month, there was some of these like little seeds of where it's never fully explained, but
Hmm.
you don't have a reason to give a shit about it because it's like it's just it doesn't nothing kind of fits together well. Here is like an incident where like the three seashells where it's like this fun little like snippet that you're given, but it's
Hmm.
never explained. But like you're like, fuck, what the hell are they talking about? That's
Right,
this is a
it's the
movie
tiniest
correct.
pebble in your shoe, but it's the tiniest pebble in your shoe, but it gives you like you care very little, but a lot at the same time.
Exactly.
I think that's the hallmark of one of those things where it's kind of like it sounds like something you just say. It's like a throwaway line, but it's like but then you become so fixated on it.
Right. Yeah. It's like
So,
this movie's full of like these little moments.
mhm.
Um, like the whole thing where it's like when, uh, you know, when John Spartan saves Raymond Cocteau and he's invited to Taco Bell, he's like, "What?"
Right,
and
yeah, yeah.
um,
But
and it's like, no, no, no. This is a big occasion. Like, Taco Bell is the
yeah, it'd be
company
like
that won the
in
franchise for. So
right
every restaurant
in
is
the
named
year
Taco Bell.
2032, going to Taco Bell is the same as going to like Mastro's or yeah, like going to like Mastro's or
Like,
Nobu, or what, any one of
yeah.
those like really high, high end, highfalutin restaurants. Um, it's funny because it doesn't really matter because like since all restaurants are Taco Bell's, like it doesn't really matter like what restaurant you go to anymore. Um,
Yeah.
but also it also like the fascination with like old timey stuff. I think that's very much a symptom of today's society because we always like that's why a lot of movies they take it back to like the 80s or the 90s uh, because they we kind of like harken back we long for those times again, but also and like the radio station that they listen to has all old commercial jingles.
Oh God. Yeah,
uh
that's right. And then
and
there's the John
we're
Spartan.
never shown, and even the lounge singer at the Taco Bell is singing a commercial,
Yeah.
so it shows like that they're no longer creative, that like no one creates anymore, everyone is stuck in the past, you know so like no yeah so no one creates anymore.
Um, One other thing too, because in this iteration we have Taco Bell is the one that won the franchise wars, but that
Hmm.
in the one that was shown in other places around the world, it was Pizza Hut that was the
Yeah, well, to watch this movie, yeah, I found a copy, and it turned out to be one of those international releases because they dub over Taco Bell and they say Pizza Hut, and even like the futuristic Taco Bell logo, they switch it out for like the 1993 specific Taco Pizza Hut logo.
That's very. See, I didn't see how like the logos and stuff are changed,
Hmm.
but I heard I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard the rumor that the way that they have the Taco Bell symbology in this film, that Taco Bell liked it so much that that's why they've changed their logo from like the kind of the brown, green, and red one that they had back in the
Yeah,
90s
yeah,
to this.
and they had just like the silhouette of it, but then they kind of switched it up, and it's still kind of a silhouette, but it's now like purple, orange, and like a little bit of red.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's kind of an interesting, and I didn't even realize that even back in the 90s that um, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and KFC
They're
were
all owned
owned
by the same
still
company.
were owned by the same. But I didn't even know that was true back then. I thought that was something more recent that happened.
Mm,
So even back in '93, that was the case. So
mm-hmm.
maybe that was always the case. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, because Taco Bell started off here in Southern California, um, but yeah, it could have just been like one of one of the big parent companies, and that just bought the franchises, or
Could
bought
be.
like bought like the entire companies and just brought it under like them, a conglomerate. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. But such a fun. This is a fun movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, on one of a little bit, it seems racist, but I still laugh. But when Simon Phoenix character goes into the museum and then he sees like this group of school children and like they're all wearing like the rice hats.
I laughed at that too. It's like, oh my god, this is great.
Oh. Oh. I know. I was debating on whether or not I should recreate that scene for the stream, or I should just go watch it.
Go watch the scene. It's so
Go
great.
watch the scene.
But I also love like the running gag throughout the film where it's like you constantly have John Spartan and Simon Phoenix cursing. You just hear this "dunk, dunk." It's like from all the stupid machines giving them demerits.
All right. Oh yeah, and yeah, because Simon Phoenix didn't get the chip when he was thawed. Whenever he swears, it just says that he's fine, but
Yeah,
not necessarily like his name, as opposed to when John Spartan does, because they lowjacked him as soon as he thought, and it says like John Spartan, you are fined 1/2 credit.
yeah. Oh man, such a fun, fantastic film that I think
Yeah,
everyone should watch.
yeah, yeah. This is yeah. If you just want to be entertained, and I mean, even if you're not trying to see like all of the symbolism and kind of prophecy that this movie basically did back in 1993, you'll still enjoy this movie. It's so fun. It's the quintessential popcorn film.
Definitely. Um, yeah, and it looks like all the actors had a ton of fun doing this film.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I know we said that Wesley Snipes seems like he's just having the best time in the world playing Simon Phoenix, but you could tell like with the other characters too that they're having a good time. Like you see like Sandra Bullock's having a good time, especially when like her and Benjamin uh, Brad are singing the Armor Hot Dog song.
That was great.
Yeah,
And you look at John Spartan, he's like, "Oh my god,
I know.
this
Put
is
me back in
awful."
the
Because
put me back in
because
the fridge.
he's probably tired of those commercials, and it's like
Yeah,
they're like genuinely enjoying it. He's like, "Oh my god, this is the classics. Don't you love this, John?" And he's like, "Oh my god."
yeah. It's like, oh yeah, this is my favorite. But yeah, there was like a little bit of darkness in it too because uh, John Spartan describes like his the whole idea of the cryo prison is uh, the 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 prisoners aren't conscious, and so like they're able to be rehabilitated, subconsciously. But during the dinner scene at Taco Bell or Pizza Hut, depending on which version you saw, he describes that his wife was like pounding on like the block of ice that used to be her husband, or like having a 30-year nightmare of innocent people burning to death. Um,
Yeah,
and just like and Huxley's character was like saying, "Oh, I thought subjects in cryosleep didn't weren't conscious, because like if you mess with your mind, you probably go insane." And even Cocteau was like saying, "No, no, no, no. You like he's like what you experienced couldn't have happened because I'm 100% sure that that you couldn't be conscious during for all that."
and it's like, yeah, no, I was.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, it's kind of
almost like
depressing.
they weren't. it's almost as if they were not taking into account his lived experience.
Yeah. Oh, and here's the other thing that's kind of a sad point, because the reason why John Spartan was thrown into prison is because he's known as the Demolition Man, where like he's kind of like the typical '90s action star, blow shit up, kind of doesn't. It's all about getting the bad guy, even if the building explodes.
Right, 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 right.
But the thing is that initially, at the start of the film, Simon Phoenix has supposedly has a bunch of hostages, and that and he keeps asking, like, where are the hostages? Like, they're not here, John. Like it was all a ruse. And so he Simon Phoenix ends up blowing up the building, um, but they blame John, and then they find this um, the building full, that's burned down, like littered with bodies. And he thought that he was responsible for killing all the hostages, just to
Mm-hmm.
get Simon Phoenix, because they had been long adversaries.
Mm-hmm.
And before Simon Phoenix is killed, he reveals to John, it's like, John, I already killed those hostages before you got there. And it was kind of his like last, fuck you to John Spartan, pretty much kind of taking him down, because he knew he was going down, and he took him down with him.
Right.
And it's like, dude, that that hurt, because he not only lost his wife, but potentially, he didn't want to know about his daughter, if she was alive or not, because it's just like it would hurt too much. So he essentially lost his
Right,
entire
right, right,
life.
right. Because when he was first thawed out, Huxley did do a search for his wife, and she had died during the big earthquake. I forget what year, 2016 or something.
2010.
Oh, 2010.
2010.
Right. But his daughter did survive, and after the meal at Taco Bell and like on their way home, she was like saying like, oh, I know it'd be against protocol, but I could, I could try to find her. But he stops her and says like, no, like she, if she is alive, then she probably thinks that I'm some like Neanderthal.
Right.
Um, although, well, the sex scene would have made it super weird, but in the I think one of the original drafts, Huxley was supposed to be turned out to be was supposed to be his daughter.
Oh, that would have been interesting.
Yeah,
That would have been interesting.
yeah, that would have been yeah. Like depending on like how old she was at the time, like she could have likely have forgotten who her father was, and with her mom dying, I mean, yeah, with her mom dying, and then maybe she got adopted by some new family, and yeah,
Yeah.
she might not have known that she was John Spartan's daughter, or might have forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, like when he went in the no, see, because he said that he knew his daughter. So I was thinking that she could have been pregnant at the time. Uh, but then
Right. Yeah.
yeah, plus with like the age of like
Because
again, if they went with the original story that Huxley was his daughter, then at her age would still make her like a young child at the time of his incarceration.
right, and that would make her almost 40 uh, in this film.
Yeah. Although it's never expressly said like how old Huxley is, but
Right.
career woman, not in a long term relationship, no kids. So yeah, probably 40.
But any other last thoughts or scenes that you are thinking about?
No, I think we pretty much covered it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's
So,
give our ratings and
hmm?
call it a night.
Yeah, let's call it. Let's give our ratings and call it a night.
Who should go
Um,
first?
I go first.
Yeah, go first.
Okay. I'm torn because I want to give this a 5. Uh, but I know that's just my super subjective uh, taste. Um, and there's not too many like technical things I can ding it for. It's not like it's not as though like I could ding it for like the sound or like an experimental uh, like an experimental shot. Screw it, it's my show. I'm giving it a 5.
You're gonna give it a 5? All right. I'm gonna go with a 4 on this. Like I said, it's fun. It's I like the actors look like they're having a great time. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Wesley Snipes stole the show, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. But it's also nice to, Sylvester Stallone is not much of a comedian, but he was very funny in this film.
Right. I think he's not.
Um,
Yeah, I don't think he's not a comedian, but for this role, his comedic acting was spot on.
yeah. I mean, he knocked it out of the park. And I love a good cheesy '90s action film, but at the same time, it wasn't just that. It did have pretty deep meaning to the film too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, it was great. I had a great time. I'm so glad that I finally watched this.
Right. Well, yeah, it's interesting. I think there is a bit of a like in terms of cinema, not cinematic archaeology, but in terms of like cinematic tropes. I think there was a deeper meaning in that, like Stallone literally represented like that big muscular He-Man type, but he was like starting to become an anachronism. In
Yeah,
terms of like, and like the whole action genre was kind of becoming a bit of, kind of played out and hackneyed. And I think uh, Demolition Man, like him, then being frozen, like losing time, he's kind of like a man out of time, and awakening in this new kind of pacifist society. Like he's looked down on as like a thuggish brute, no different than Simon Phoenix.
yeah,
And so yeah, I think like that meaning. I think yeah, that kind of like hidden meaning in there is great.
definitely. But yeah, this is a great movie. Go watch it. And this has so much replayability. Um,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. All right, well, that's our review for Demolition Man. I give it a 5. Robert gives it a 4. This is highly recommended by us. The rewatchability of this movie is just off the charts. You can watch this anytime. Like you may not even feel like you're like just flipping through. You could flip through a lot of stuff, but if you see Demolition Man on after having seen it once, you're like, yep, I'm watching this.
I love all the characters, but I would watch it just for Simon Phoenix.
Yes, absolutely.
Jeffrey Dahmer, I love that guy.
Like, oh, I'm so scared. Or what about like all of like the
uh,
Simon Says puns? Like Simon Says die.
oh God, Yeah. Oh, it was great.
Absolutely great. All right, folks, that'll bring us to the end of tonight's show. I hope you were entertained. I had fun, even though we talked about some kind of icky things. We ended off on a good note, all the same, and I'm glad for that. Don't forget to catch us every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. ish. Don't forget to check out the library of other shows we have: Circle of Drake's main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Robert's Gaming Show. If you're into those old school NES, 8-bit graphic video games, it's Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts: Twitter at PodcastCOJ, Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast, and Letterboxd at Circle of Jerks Podcast. All of the links will be in the description below. And with all that said, we want to thank you again for joining us. And we'll see you next week. Don't do nothing I would.